come in. Over.
Did you notice anything strange about the dog? Anything at all?
Strange? No.
What the hell happened here? Looks like something buried under the ice.
What we're talking about here is an organism that imitates other life forms.
Somebody in this camp ain't what he appears to be.
Bennings was right there, Mac. I swear to God it had a hold of him.
It could have imitated 1,000,000 life forms on 1,000,000 planets.
There was one of those things out there trying to imitate him, Gary. We gotta burn the rest of them. Nobody trusts anybody now.
So how do we know who's human?
There's some kind of test, Doc?
We're gonna draw a little bit of everybody's blood.
You ain't tying me up.
Then I'll have to kill you, child.
You gotta be kidding.
We gotta bring this whole place right down into the ice. We're not getting out of here alive. Neither's that thing.
I'm most proud of this movie. I wouldn't change a frame of it.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Midnight's Edge in the morning on this lovely Wednesday. And joining me so far, I'm sure more will come later, but for the moment, it's me and also from the Great White North, Mr. Paul Chato. How's it going?
I guess you're from the even greater White North, but you're not there now.
No, that's right. I'm, as I like to put it, I'm in the outer rim at the moment.
Yeah, what would you do without the Gulf Stream?
Wear my winter jacket all year around, I should imagine.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be here. And yeah, hopefully more participants will come. But it's certainly been an interesting week, but not if you are a sensitive individual.
Or if you are a very woke individual who considers yourself or thyself to be on the right side of history, then it has not been a very good week at all, has it?
No. I mean, the same people who like the Ackolyte are being moved from campus, protests. Well, they have nothing to do now.
Well, I think that they can protest a little bit outside of the DNC, can't they?
Oh, yeah, yes. They're doing that.
Yeah. We're like, I do believe that they built a replica of the wall between the U.S. and Mexico, between the DNC and the populace. Just to protect the good people inside.
What kills me in the United States is that you would not, like, normally you would get the opposing group protesting something like the DNC convention or the Republican convention, right? Only in the United States do you have people protesting their party of choice not being radical enough.
Yeah, and considering some of those policies, I think they're plenty radical as it is. But,
no,
but hey, that's my point of view. I'm just from the socialist Scandinavia. So, yeah.
But I don't see how that helps the party, having a group of people from your side actually complaining that you're not on side enough. Like, that's hilarious.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter until the votes of the election are in, I guess.
And I think it's important that two non-Americans continue to discuss American politics on this channel.
Well, it does affect us, doesn't it?
Well, I kind of, sort of. I mean,
it does affect us.
Sure.
I mean, I have never been more affected by American politics than in the past 4 years. I tell you what.
No, that's That's true. And I keep telling my Canadian brethren who lean to the left that Canada's economy is always better under a Republican presidency.
Yeah, so is that of the rest of the world. Funny
Probably.
Yeah.
not that I'm taking sides, everyone. Anyway.
Yeah, no. We don't
just-
have a vote.
No.
We are just influenced and affected by how you vote.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how that
Exactly.
goes. Yeah. Indeed. And we have a bunch of awesome people joining us on the panel. We have Latinos land here, of course. Do check out Polly's channel and check out Midnight Sedge Espanol afterwards. This stream redirects there. And then we also have War Monkey is here. Fletcher Williams is here. 11 Alpha is here. D-Bud Martin is here. John Thomas is here. Fallen Angel D. Links is here. I do like that name. Miguel H. is here. Davina Duckworth is here. And many, many others. We love seeing you all here. Please, everyone, smash that like. It really does matter. And it helps us out. And it also helps the algorithm inform you later on next time there's a live stream, which this platform isn't always so too keen about sending notifications about. So please smash that like and help share in social media that we are indeed live right now, even if it's just the two of us. But I'm sure more will come as we keep rolling here. And we got a couple of save them till someone else is here who can give them the proper vocal infliction that's needed for some of them. But Dark Winter says, "May the Chato be with you always." Indeed, I
agree.
I condone this message. I do condone this message. So yeah, but we mentioned recently, before we get into the main topics here, that this has not been a very good week for those who consider themselves on the right side of history. Luckily, they have some distraction in that they can go and demonstrate in Chicago in front of the DNC right now. But why would they be so upset? We have the Acolyte, of course, that we will be talking about later and the reactions to that. But before then, there's something happening in the world of gaming that we spoke about before the stream that also gave some people cause for concern. What's going on with that?
Well, I mean, the Black Myth, this is a black, let me get this right here. Black Myth game. There we go. Black Myth WuKong. I was trying to get that last part right there. Again, there are games that the Wokarati are just determined to kill off, and Black Myth WuKong looks like just a fantastic game. I've seen clips from it. I haven't played it. It's not quite my style, but it looks amazing. And the regular, the usual suspects hate it because it's not filled with enough diversity, except it's filled with all sorts of Chinese characters, which apparently is not diverse enough. You can't have just one group of people representing a country. It's just not diverse. They've got, like, for instance, the problem with Ubisoft's game where they've got a black samurai. That is what all the intersectionalists want, right? They want this mixing of individuals, but in Black Myth WuKong, no, it's not happening. And the game looks fantastic. It's the #1, I believe, game on Steam in terms of actual downloads. They've already sold 1 million copies, something insane like that.
I'm sure that's going to trigger the activists something
absolutely
fierce, because how dare it? While Ubisoft, as you mentioned, because they have 2 games coming, they have Star Wars. What's it called again? Yeah, the one with the gender bent Outlaws. Thank you.
Yeah.
There, see how much I pay attention. The one with the gender bent Harrison Ford, who looks like a druggie, which is unbelievable considering how attractive the model behind that.
Yeah, I'm sure
is in reality, but
I'm sure she's happy.
Good job uglifying that. And so we have this. So not a great week for the for the wokies.
And there's 2 games. There's a brand new game that's coming out that looks like it's not tracking at all, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's a really, really bad time for woke gamers.
And for the companies that invested in them, like
Oh,
Warner,
man.
who following the absolute abysmal failure of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which now is being subverted into Save the Justice League. Not that anyone cares, because it's too late and the damage is done. Last I heard is that Warner may be looking to uproot their entire gaming division because of that one spectacular failure.
And I don't understand the level of indoctrination an individual has to have to subvert Batman to the degree that they did in that game. Like, who in their right mind wants to see Harley Quinn put a gun to Batman's head and kill him? Like, I don't get it. Why would they think that is good? How
you
far?
answered your own question.
I guess
you just said who in their right mind, and the answer is no one in their right mind.
Right.
And unfortunately, those are the people who are making these games, and who, as we're about to see here, are behind series like the Acolyte.
Yeah.
Which is a reason why the few that support those products are having such a rough week. And helping us discuss all of that is Tom. How's it going?
We try and Ackolyte die. We know there are more of us than there are of you. This is us. I don't understand. It was probably because of a man. The season of 1 but no season 2. Now Leslye doesn't know what to do. Man, all these internet critics are so mean. Maybe we can get help from Daddy Weinstein. We were review bombed, and all the racist men wouldn't let us have no fun. So now the Acolyte is done.
Yeah, it's that about summed it up.
Good morning.
The subtitle version of that. Yeah, morning.
Is that one of your AI generated?
It was.
That was pretty good.
Well, it was a sequel to the other one, but yeah.
That was good. I liked it.
It was far better than the musical track that we heard in the series itself. You know, the power of one, the power of two, the power of many. And I can't sing, and I made that sound a hell of a lot better than the ladies did in the series right there. So yeah, but Tom,
Nice.
since you just woke up, packing protons
Woke
says
up.
for $10. Also, President Biden, sir. People have claimed that you sound angry and have confirmed you were behind the illegal immigration. What response do you have, sir?
He asked this the one day my voice box thing is not working right.
Typical, yeah.
Oh,
I was
here we
about
go.
to say, well, that's Monday for you, but it's actually Wednesday, so I guess that's just rough.
What was the question? I like oatmeal.
I thought you liked ice cream.
What? Where? We built a wall around the DNC, so we don't have to worry about illegal immigrants no more.
There you have it. Problem has been solved.
Done.
Thank
you, Mr.
You
President.
know, Obama was there last night, showed us how big Michael was. He was all like, maybe it's this big. Maybe it's this big.
Yeah, but with that, let us get into the topic at hand, because the big story today, which actually broke on Monday here, shortly after we finished our last stream, but this is the first main channel stream we've had since then. I know that you already covered it on After Dark, that you also should be checking out, but the Acolyte is no more. And we know this because someone in Disney, as I covered in my video, saw fit to leak to Deadline Hollywood that the series has actively been cancelled, which is something that doesn't really happen. Whenever something is cancelled, the only way we learn about it, if it's a regular show, is that whenever fall pickups are announced, it's not in those lists. That's how we usually learn about cancellations. When it comes to streaming shows, we generally don't hear that they're cancelled. We just
that's
hear
not true.
Not renewed yet. Well, what is
Well, I was going to say, I mean,
that.
You kind of get an idea when a show's going to be canceled because they usually go out on a campaign to say, save our show.
This is true, yeah.
And we got one of the same things here. And this is how I was not surprised to hear this finally. I mean, I figured it'd be like you just said. We just wouldn't hear about it till, the show never happens.
Well, that's what happened with Obi-Wan Kenobi, for instance. Book of Boba Fett. We never heard. They're not happening. Only, still waiting.
We got a hint that Book of Boba Fett 2 is not happening.
We got the hint. But,
Tamir Morrison himself, I think, said something here recently in an interview. I think I sent that to you, but yeah.
Yeah, and that's the kind of hints that we usually get. What we don't usually get are studio sources letting the trades know this shit is done for. That we usually don't get. Yet that is what happened with the Acolyte. When Disney insiders, we don't know if it's Disney or Lucasfilm, but we know it's someone that comes from that whole corporate structure somewhere, reached out to Deadline Hollywood to let them know that this isn't happening anymore. Paul, as a former network executive, I mean, I know you were there before the realm of streaming, but as a general thing, just applying your knowledge from that to now, why would someone leak that it has been cancelled, embarrassing everyone so thoroughly in the process?
You think it was a purposeful leak?
I think so, yes.
I mean,
because if it wasn't, as Tom said earlier, we would just be getting more and more campaigning. Like, come on, let's get going. Let's get fans riled up. Leslye Headland tried that.
Hashtag save the Acolyte.
Exactly. And never once trended even afterwards. And then suddenly, boom, it's done for. We get that didn't happen before.
Yeah, Tom's right in the sense that it could be leaked by someone who actually wants to save the Acolyte. And if it's not leaked early enough, then there wouldn't be enough time to mount a campaign, right? So if we find out 6 months later, just from regular Disney news, that the Acolyte is now done, there's really no momentum left at all. So it could come from someone who wants the Acolyte to stay. It might not be from someone who wants it to go.
Right. Well, the other side of it is, and I think this is also likely, is that publicly somebody has to be to blame for this. And I think Andre pointed out in his video, it's pretty obvious who they're setting up to take the blame for this. Former Harvey Weinstein assistant, that's who.
No, I thought they were setting up Manny Jacinto.
Oh,
it was actually canceled on his birthday. But
it was kind of a fuck you to Manny.
So, I mean, there's a lot of things that swirl around in a production. Is that people want to know whether it's going to be picked up so they can buy their house in Bel Air. They've got plans. People have plans. People don't understand that shows are done so far in advance, especially this stupid streaming thing where it's not happening year after year, which is a problem. A really, really big problem for the industry is the lack of consistent timing on these productions. But now he has to go and get a job, which otherwise he might not have needed another job between the next Acolyte production, right? So it has an effect that way. But I doubt if it was leaked for the benefit of the actors to let them know whether they're free to go. That's one important aspect. I only put that forward because that is important. So if I'm a person who hates the show, what's my motivation to leak it out? I mean, to embarrass people.
Yeah, because the actors, they can be told to look for something else behind the scenes without it being made public.
But they don't. The production companies wait to the last minute to do it. It's not a great way to deal with actors, but that's just the nature of the business, is that they are quiet pretty much until the last minute. They don't want the actors running off. So it's very unfair for the actors, but that's usually what happens, is that the production companies are assholes and don't tell the actors. They give them enough
time. That's the life in the big city, I guess.
Yep, that's the way it goes.
Oh, we
So,
have
yeah,
some
did
nice
you guys see
reactions
this?
here. Let's see this.
Yeah,
Oh,
so Stephanie, one of our toxic femme, actually put this together. She said she has way too much time on her hands on TikTok, I guess. So thank you, Stephanie, for putting this together, but found this quite, you know what actually enhances this? You'll see.
So the Acolyte was canceled.
It's definitely because incels didn't like two people of color holding hands. We're not gonna forget that.
They hit the second tower. It was set up to fail from the beginning. When the Acolyte was first announced as a female-run show with Leslye Headland at the helm, starring a black femme and a diverse cast of characters unlike we had seen in a Star Wars project before, the review bombers took to the internet before the show even had a chance to air.
Is it worth the price? I understand that it got review bombed to an insane degree by so many people who were hating on it just because of what seemed like internal prejudice.
Amandla Stenberg, who not only gave a phenomenal performance as Arthur, but also as her conscious DeMayo, had no choice but to stick up for themselves and defend herself against the vitriol and bigotry that she was receiving because Lucasfilm did not protect her.
The supposed Star Wars fans were divided, and by that I mean incels of the internet and of Twitter.
Managed to pull the lovers so well. Lucasfilm didn't do anything to protect the cast and the crew of the Acolyte.
Why can't the girls have fun things for the girlies? Why?
But it just shows how fragile you guys are to storytelling.
And it was for the girls on board.
Leslye Headland was so dedicated as a fan of Star Wars.
So when Mother Anicia says this quote, and the whole show is literally about people of color.
Ask me one more time. I'm about to cry. Thank you for asking.
I don't care about what the incel said.
You guys bullied Amandla Stenberg so bad.
The Acolyte, it was kind of to be expected considering how it is set in the universe that has, if not one of the, then the most toxic fan base like ever.
To receive this news, I like him.
Worth the price. We're not getting any more.
What strikes me about this whole thing? It's just 5 people or something.
Yeah, not even really.
What do you mean? It wasn't bringing in the
The precedent this is setting is very scary and very concerning. What
Why?
Lucasfilm is doing with this decision is allowing the bigots to win, allowing the bigots to run with this and decide, even if that's not the original intention of canceling the show, that they have won, that they are correct, that Star Wars needs to be white and male, and it can't be anything else.
How about Star Wars be universal about the human condition so it's accessible for everyone, rather than to be something that belongs into the world cinema and LGBTQIAP+ section of your local bricks and mortar video store that no longer exists because it shut down 5 years ago, but that was the absolute smallest shelf because it has the most limited audience on the face of the earth. How about that? And then it doesn't matter the face of the audience. But I just think it's like so manipulative that this is kind of like what they're saying that, oh, just white people. Okay, if you have the exact same kind of storytelling and it's white people, it's white activists still doing activist storytelling about the environment or something like that, it's going to be every single bit as unwatchable to normal people. That's a problem here. That the whole Star Wars during the Disney era has been activist. It's been commie storytelling, and that's the issue. And then it's just really insidious to hide behind the skin color or the gender of the cast, as if that's the real problem when it isn't. And unfortunately, you have people like we saw in this montage right here that fall straight for it and then just bow down in their victimhood, thinking, oh, it's about black. No, it's not about black people. It's not about lesbians. It's about the storytelling, or rather the lack of it.
Yeah, I think the cope is hilarious, to be honest with you, but that's just me. I mean, in what universe did they really think this was getting a second season anyway?
Well, that I do not blame anyone for thinking, because you need only look at what Disney has been doing the past 10 years So honestly, I would not have been surprised if this did get a second season. Case in point, Ahsoka is getting a season. Does it have viewership to justify a second season? I somehow doubt it does.
No.
And considering that Lucasfilm is still operational after having lost Disney billions, I wouldn't have been
operational.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been surprised if a second season was made. I really wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I did mention, like, just because of, like, you know, to spite us, like Batwhammon, they would. But
well, I think the interesting thing, and I wrote about it in the video that I hope to get published, is that a lot of this woke stuff is actually gaining an audience. They are getting traction. I euphemistically call them the campus protesters.
Well, you're not wrong.
No, it's the same group of people, colored hair, purple hair, pink haired people, and with a certain global view. And they are gaining. Like I like reading the posts from the people who liked the Acolyte. It was really interesting. They are genuine. They genuinely like it, but it's a different show, a different group of people, and the biggest problem is that there's not enough of them. The other thing that I mentioned in my video is that a show being bad is not a criteria for renewal. So while we talk about the quality of the show, I make fun of this all the time. Bad is not one of the data points. It's numbers and budget. That's really the only issue when it comes to a TV show. And even a really great TV show, and I've mentioned Crime Story before, was canceled purely because it was too expensive, even though it was really successful, The Michael Mann Show, and groundbreaking. So TV and entertainment is a cruel mistress, right? I mean, it's just the nature of the game. And in this particular case, Leslye did not have as much schlep as Filoni has with the wretched Ahsoka. Ahsoka shouldn't have gotten a season 2. But he obviously is in a better position than Leslye. That's really what no one is talking about.
that's partially true, but I disagree that they're growing an audience. I think
they Acolyte
is.
It's
I
just
don't
small.
know about that.
No,
Well,
it's tiny. But I am seeing more and more people who like this stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's all I'm
can,
saying.
I can see how I could perceive it that way, but I think it's more so just the same group of people doing the same shit they've always been doing. They're just doing it louder. Like, I really don't feel like they're gaining it, because otherwise, and the reason I say this, Paul, is the proof would be in the pudding, right? Like, a show like The Acolyte would have done better than Ahsoka or close to that when it didn't, right? Like, right now we're sitting at a point where Mandalorian was the biggest show of the whole thing so far. Obi-Wan had some of the best ratings, but it fell off a cliff near the end. And Ahsoka has probably middling at best ratings. Otherwise, the rest of the shows down the line, you know, even Boba Fett, as far as we know, is not going to get a second season according to the Star, right? So, and Boba Fett is the most popular character arguably in Star Wars.
Well,
so I don't really feel like they're gaining anything anywhere, any kind of ground, or a show like this would. And again, I stand by the only reason we're getting this news right now isn't because somebody's pointing at it and going, ha ha, like Nelson. I sincerely think that somebody in Kathy's camp put this out there as basically to take the blame off of her and try to start to put their laser beams onto Leslye Headland instead.
Okay, so let's
they need a fall guy.
Sure. So you've zipped ahead there. Let me just go back to this audience thing. You're comparing the audiences of all the Star Wars properties as potentially the same. That's not my point. My point is across different shows that have come out, and I'm just going to throw this out, it's more of a comparison to Velma and other similar shows that have zeroed in on this hardcore female audience. The Ahsoka was too alien, too weird. It was not in the same category. Boba Fett, absolutely not. That's not the same audience. I'm just saying that there is a female oriented audience of properties that have now been released by Hollywood, often failed properties that have similar DNA. And I can see an audience, I can see that building. It's just not very large. That's my
exactly
point.
right. Yeah, and to your point, you are actually both completely right. Paul, you are right in that the audience is growing. There are more of those radical female gender study activists now who are into this kind of stuff than there were 5 years ago. At the same time, Tom is also right, because there's still so few of them that they're not going to make any kind of difference when it comes to the viewership of any of these series. Because we are talking about, okay, it used to be that all of these activists who are into this kind of show, if you put them all together, they would fit into a medium-sized room. Now there's more of them, so now they will all fit into a big room. So they are growing. But at the same time, that's not enough that it's going to be visible in any kind of metrics, and they're not going to be able to save any kind of show that is the size and scope of something like the Acolyte. Because the audience that they are, I mean, the cap for a cost of such a show needs to be 10 million. If it's anything more than that, it's going to fail, because that's how few there are.
Well, and here's the other thing I'm getting at too, is it's weird because I can't remember if it was a video or a story I was reading the other day where they were basically calling my generation the lost generation. Because there was not very many of us. We were one of the lowest as far as population wise in our generation. And the generation coming in right now is the people you guys are talking about. But then there's a generation underneath that. And that's my kids' generation. And I feel like they're so far pushed. And this, I'm not the one who said this first. This is something I've heard other people say, and stuff I've been reading, is that some of them have been so far pushed now in that generation that we may have a backlash like you wouldn't believe in the next few years. That's going to be very, like, they think we're anti, whatever now, anti-diverse, homophobic, racist bigots now. These kids coming up are going to be like Archie Bunkers. And I don't know what to do about that, because my kids in that generation, and we're a generation that's been bypassed. We did not get a chance to even run the country. They're deciding that they're just going to bypass us, and it's the people underneath us. They've called us all boomers. They've moved on. But my point I was getting to is we were the ones that were sustaining these franchises. Like everything from Star Trek to Ninja Turtles to Star Wars to Power Rangers to whatever you want to put in there. It's our generation that's holding these things up right now. As soon as we turn away from them, there's nothing left, because there's no generation underneath us to catch it when it falls. And it's going to fall upon the next generation after that to rediscover these things, is what I'm getting at. So I really think we're hitting near this end of this road with this thing, because these kids that are coming in, Paul, they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about Star Wars the way we do.
Oh, yeah.
These are the same fuckers that were there shipping Rey and Kylo, right? That's who these people are. That's the number of people that they are. They're just still there, right? Like, they're the only ones left. Like, you have pretty much drove everybody else out the room, is what I'm getting at.
Right.
So that's why it feels like there's more of them, at least in my opinion.
Well, and part of the challenge, not challenge, this is one of the stupidity of Disney Star Wars, is that they couldn't really figure out what it is they're trying to do with it. In that Obi-Wan was kind of their last stab at trying to bring back the traditional audience, and instead they really went all out and inserted that intersectionalism into it, and they stuck a fork in it. That was their last crack at apologizing to the regular Star Wars fan, but they decided, no, we're going to kick them in the groin.
Pretty much. I agree. I think Obi-Wan was a disaster. That was the last chance. And instead, what they did was they soiled the last original character that they had. And nothing has tracked after that. Not even The Mandalorian.
And even Obi-Wan didn't perform the way it probably should have if you really think about it.
Oh, no. Oh,
that's
no.
what kind of told me that the rot had already kind of set in a way, or something that was like, okay, now if this show can't even generate the kind of audience
it did at the beginning.
To a point. I think the height they hit was what, 5 or 6 million viewers in a 48-hour period or whatever.
Sure,
but yeah.
But the point, the proof of a successful show is that it builds the audience. So it had enough at the start to at least entice people, and then it didn't go anywhere with it because it was crap.
That's exactly right. If that series actually had fired, it would have grown from week to week to week with positive word of mouth.
Yeah.
It didn't. They blew it. So it started relatively high. It wasn't able to sustain it because it was very quickly made it clear that this is just yet another DEI series, this time exploiting the image of Obi-Wan Kenobi to further the message. Just like Picard was. Picard was the exact same thing in Star Wars terms. That was like their last Hail Mary, the one thing that actually could have turned things around, but instead it was more Kurtzman drivel that even ended with Picard becoming a damn robot. So, yeah.
Yes, exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, and that was the example I always use too, because that was the show, like, because I would point out, nobody watched Discovery on a grand level, but people tuned in for Picard because of what you just said. Like, you had the original cast coming back in, but I feel like that third season would have been a hell of a lot more successful had they not screwed the pooch in the first two, because that's when it drove off everybody else anyway, and they're just like, well, screw this shit. And that's kind of where we're at with all these things across the board for the most part. That's why I'm even surprised Alien did as good as it did. And I mean, really, I'm going to kind of steal basically Robert Meyer Burnett's tweet on this, because I don't disagree with his sentiment, but I'm going to add my sentiment to it, is what I'm saying. And that is that, like, in what universe would you normally say that a nerd would say no to a show set in Star Wars about a bunch of sexy lesbians? Nobody normally would say no to something like that as a geek, but we live in that world now. Isn't that fucking insane? Because they have turned this thing into such a political driven thing that they have gotten so far away from what used to drive these nerd cultures and geek cultures. Like, did you guys see that they even have like Lara Croft now having to apologize for being white, and that's why she's tomb raiding? Yeah, that's what's in this news show. Yeah. She has to basically apologize for tomb raiding by giving up all her things and apologizing for her whiteness, basically, was the scene. I can't remember. That's not verbatim, but it's pretty close to what was said to her.
Jesus.
I'm not surprised at all. You know who's the showrunner of that show? I believe it's still Tasha Huo, isn't it? Who's the showrunner?
Well, this is the animated one, so I don't.
Yes, I know. That's what I mean.
This is
Tasha
the
Huo,
one that,
I believe, is the one who was showrunner of the animated. We have to check if she's still.
Yeah, so this is not the one that Fleabag's a part of, I don't think.
No.
This
is the animated one for
Jesus
Netflix.
Christ.
And I have to check if she still is, but I do believe that at some point, that Tasha Huo is the showrunner. You know what Tasha Huo was attached to writing before? Red Sonja. Red Sonja, not the current iteration of Red Sonja, but she was the one who wrote the Red Sonja that was to be directed by Joey Soloway when it was all about gender and stuff like that in the thing that it no longer is. But yeah, so that's what Red Sonja almost would have been.
That was the trans director, right?
Yes, that is correct. That was the writer for well, it's still a trans director, but the previous trans director.
Can't have too many trans directors.
The current trans director is actually fairly decent. It was the previous trans director that was a full-on activist. So, yeah. Fans of Tomb Raider, they have another series to look forward to not seeing in the animated Tomb Raider. So that's
wow.
So yes, Lara Croft apologizing for her white privilege.
Wow.
And also she's a lesbian. I do believe.
Lesbian seagull.
In this animated version.
Yeah, I just saw the one clip or whatever where she was being chastised for her whiteness, basically.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Chastised by her lesbian lover.
Yeah, yes. Or is that what it was? Yeah. Some black chick. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Good for them. Good for them. That's going to make everybody flock to the show.
Oh, well, that's the beauty. That's the one thing we should appreciate with these things. I mean, they make it so easy to take a stand by not watching it, and we see how efficient that can be now with the case of the Acolyte. People did amazing with the Acolyte. Didn't even hate watch it. Instead of hate watching, people went to see the reaction channels and people like ourselves and our friends in this community, which is far better usage of their time than to actually see it as
absolutely.
Yeah. And then you can vote with your wallet, and your vote actually matters. So yeah, it's perfect. This is the system working and normalizing itself. So I look forward to the animated Tomb Raider being yet another massive flop here. But let's run through a couple of more of these super chats to see what you guys are saying in the chat before we move on here.
So you're saying that she has to fuck with our discourse? I don't know what came in before this, Andre. So if I'm skipping ahead, you're gonna have to bop in here because
I think we only have one before that, and I got that one.
Okay, so I was gonna say because for some reason I don't have anything before this.
If you have from that point onwards, we're good.
Okay, so I'll do this one, and then you can come back in after this. ActionCom sends in 5 and says, "Who are the biggest losers when it comes to Acolyte's cancellation? The most rep damage, the most money lost, and so on." I'm going to stick with their setting, and we've been saying this from the start, I'd say, Andre, we've been pretty consistent. They're setting Leslye up to take the fall for this, because Kathy be damned if she's going to.
Oh, yeah. Come on. Like, forget it.
And I think Andre agrees, or he would have said something else.
No, absolutely. Yeah, no, this is what I said in the video yesterday, and also, which was established in the main promotional piece promoting the series ahead of its release, namely the New York Times spin piece. Because most of the quotes about the series and the spin and everything, that came from that one New York Times spin piece. And even there, it was established that this is all Leslye Headland. If this fails, it's on her. It's her humiliation. Only thing Kathleen Kennedy has done is be supportive and support everything that she wanted to do. It was all her failure. That's how it was being set up. So in terms of the most rep damage, what they want is to throw her under the bus, so no blame befalls Kathleen Kennedy. Now, in actual reality, everyone knows that Kathleen Kennedy is every single bit as much to blame for this as is Leslye Headland. Everyone knows
yeah,
it.
Of course.
So
you know who
like
else was supportive?
Paper.
Dr. Kevorkian. But but you know who else is keeping their distance from this? Have you not noticed?
Bob Iger.
Well, besides that, the cowboy, Mr. Filoni.
Oh yeah, of course.
He helped with the script.
Full of witches. He did help with the script. Yeah,
he did, but he's been very like hands off. It feels like.
Of course, run for the hills.
Yeah, because he knows that he will be the one to fall on the sword before Kathleen Kennedy is. So,
let me tell you, he's next in line, so you better not get too comfy.
Yeah, exactly. So there is great reputational damage here. The financial damage, of course, is all Disney shareholders. Because this was basically, if it cost $200 million to make this, it was $200 million down the drain. Plus, I do not know how you calculate the brand damage that this has done to Star Wars, because this is now going to make it more difficult for the next thing to be released, which I do believe is the one with all the kids. What's the
Skeleton Crew?
Skeleton Crew, yeah. So then you also have to calculate what's the damage on the Skeleton Crew, just because people are now even more fed up with Star Wars and less likely to check out the Skeleton Crew. How many have that otherwise would have checked into the Skeleton Crew will bow out of it right now. I mean, this is monetary damage to Disney and to Disney shareholders. And I say again, the Star Wars brand has been damaged by every new iteration of Star Wars that has been released, and none more so than the Acolyte. I mean, that thing is a joke. I mean, the best thing for it is that so few comparatively watched it. But it doesn't help, because between Nerdrotic, the Critical Drinker, us, that the Park Place, everyone else covering this, it's millions of people that know just how badly the Acolyte was without actually having seen it. So the brand damage is still very, very real. And they did that to themselves. There's a cost to that damage. So Disney are the ones that ultimately pay the price for that. And ultimately, that's Disney shareholders. Because that is something that's going to affect the share price. Not one series directly, but the entire revenue stream from all things Star Wars going down. That does affect the share price. Anyone else have any thoughts on
No, I mean,
here?
I think the best chance they have with this is that a lot of people probably just didn't pay the fuck attention to it. I mean, in a normal world, like, yeah, we'd be hitting the end of the line of the franchise at this point. Like, they would really, like, this is what's weird about, and I know, Paul, you probably come from more from this era of like, yeah, it didn't work. We're not going to fucking try that again. Move on, right? Like, some things get a chance, and if they don't shine, then you just move on from there. We didn't get so many remakes and sequels and reboots and shit back in the day because of that reason. It's like if they did another one and it failed, we didn't get part 3, we didn't get a part 4, we didn't get a part 5. Same thing with the shows. They would reconfigure shows, and if they didn't work, if they didn't start bringing in an audience, like Paul was talking in earlier, then tough shit. You're getting replaced mid-season. You know, like, I mean, it used to be more of a competition. It used to be, like, I don't understand how this suddenly became a participation generation award fucking business. Right? I can get it in certain other aspects, but we're not making fucking sandwiches here. Right? Like, we're making movies and TV shows. Things that are cost a lot of money. You know, and you're losing a lot of money. Like, this is where I think it's finally catching up with the stock and such. Is because people are starting to realize that you can't keep spending $200 million on something that's not going to bring in any revenue whatsoever.
They're so concerned about this holy grail of the recurring revenue. Now, the thing is, Disney Plus is getting recurring revenue. Don't be fooled.
Yeah, but is that enough to cover 20 shows
No,
at $200 plus $1 million budgets?
Absolutely not. But they're getting money for doing nothing. That is still something that they want to make work. Literally, so, you know, in the normal, the old way, you either got money through going after advertising, and you had a whole advertising department, and you're hammering that constantly. And if the ratings went down, you got less money, and that was a drag. And then you had not pilot season, but then you had ratings week. And you'd have 4 ratings weeks a year, and you would put together these shows that were stunting, that you would bring in some famous movie star just to appear for that one show. It was a ton of work running network TV. In this particular case, they're going, oh, crap, we haven't made anything in, 6 months. Yet we're still bringing in $1 billion for doing nothing. Like, the lure of recurring revenue is still so powerful, but they're not making enough. Or they should be making shows for less money. But boy, that recurring revenue, that's magical.
Their problem is that recurring revenue is even declining, because what you're talking about there is the fees
absolutely
that their subscribers pay, but they've been shedding subscribers by the millions.
Yep.
Well, and
Disney Plus is no longer in the top 5 streaming services.
And not only that, but to go off of what Paul is saying here, and I agree with him, in that they basically decided we're gonna sacrifice like tens of millions of viewers, if not more, for literally millions. Right? I don't understand this. It's like they're making their shit more exclusive and they're spending 10 times as much as they used to.
Well, the reason for that is because they don't understand that that's what they're doing. They think, oh, we are really, this appeals to everyone. They do, in their minds, they do not, or at least maybe they do now, but they have, up until now, have not understood that all of the stuff that they do to include someone excludes someone else, and probably a much bigger group.
Yeah, I agree.
This is what they never took into account. They never set out with the intention that, oh, if we just do this, we are going to lose all of these people. But hey, we gain the lesbians. No. What they're thinking is, okay, here we have our base audience, and they are going to be here no matter what. Now, if we make this whole thing lesbian, we are going to win so much with lesbian audiences. And if we also bring in some people of color and we make them lesbian too, well, then we're going to, all people of color in the world are going to come in and see this because they all identify with lesbians. And then we're also going to fundamentally make the story about the lesbian experience. And now every person in the whole world can see themselves in this. It's amazing. I mean, that's the actual rationality they use. That the more genre and niche they make it, the more and more groups are going to come in, because it does not compute to them that in the process of doing that, the more you curtail the story to bring in these niche audiences, you make it unwatchable for everyone else. And all of the people that you just assumed would be there no matter what, suddenly they start checking out. This is the one thing that never appeared from their purely quantitative analysis, because they do quantitative analysis. They see, okay, if we bring in this person who represents this group, that's going to expand the audience by so much. This thing is going to expand the audience by so much. And then they do not have this qualitative factor that, but if we do this, we're going to lose everyone we take for granted that we keep. That does not appear in their forms and formulas right now, doesn't it, Chato? That's the whole reason.
Yeah, that's the challenge. Exactly.
Yeah. It's really, from a business point of view, it's really as simple as that. Of course, you have some insidious people that wants to push a certain agenda, but that's not everyone in the company. The rest of the company, they look at charts. They do not understand the properties that they have. They do not understand the audience. But they understand numbers. They see, okay, so if we do this, we bring in the lesbians. If we do this, we bring in the lesbians of colors. And we get to keep everyone else. But obviously, we're going to do this. But their charts were wrong because they missed that qualitative fact. And because of that, they've ruined the entire brand.
Well, I'm also thinking that they're doing less of that and doing more what they view as the right thing. I think that's what they're consumed with is
of course they're ideologues.
Yes.
That's the one qualitative thing that they have. So
Correct.
they have the qualitative thing that we are good people on the right side of history.
Correct.
And here we have the numbers to back up that it's actually financially lucrative to be on the right side of history because we bring in so many people. Now we're going to make the biggest franchise in the world even bigger because now it's going to appeal to lesbians of color.
Correct. Which, yes, because now I feel better about it. Now,
Yes,
don't underestimate this cohort of straight white women who are desperate to be included in critical race, feel good, gender woo, Franklin, Academy bullshit. I mean, there is a big audience of people who feel that they are virtue signaling on behalf of a minority. They're actually the worst group.
Yeah, they're mostly white women.
Yeah.
I believe that even that this was mentioned in the novel 1984, that the activist women were the worst.
I gotta watch that. I just got the 4K version of that.
Yeah,
like
I don't know that it's in the movie. I said it was in the original.
Yeah, I know. I just haven't seen it.
I don't think that the movie would be brave enough to say, the women are actually, but you have that in all of the cults and everything. Like they were being pushed for recruitment and everything. So yeah, I mean, if you walk past like a Scientology stand, it's typically the most attractive women they have that are used for recruitment.
But yeah, anyhow, you got to do the next super chat that was before that, Andre.
Yeah, sure. And the one before that was from Packing Protons, who says for $5, Happy Gilmore 2 auditions in New Jersey. Glad I didn't go. Looked like a madhouse of interesting people.
This is one of the few Adam Sandler projects I'm half-ass looking forward to in a way, even though I know it's probably going to be bad.
He's got a good record on Netflix.
Tremendously.
Oh, they love him there. They love him there. So he's.
Oh my God! Like, I mean, I mentioned Adam Sandler as someone who, if you're talking about bad, quote unquote bad, his movies are generally critically assailed, but he's now made billions of dollars to some very happy studios.
He's the king on Netflix. Netflix loves him because his movies, they are made for just the right budget. They're made in exotic locations, so he can take his friends on expensive vacations and get paid for it. And Netflix are super happy about it because they never lose money on his movies.
And he's
have his audience. Kudos, bravo to Adam Sandler. That's how you do it.
And he's unbelievably responsible as a producer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I admire the guy. I mean, he has his audience, he has his niche. It's financially viable. It's working. Good for him. I'm glad. So, am I excited about Happy Gilmore 2? No, but a lot of people are.
You know what?
I'm happy for them.
So far, if it's going to be on Netflix, I'm going to trust him because I've not seen a single property, even the stuff that he did with Aniston as the detective pair.
Oh, that was brilliant stuff as well.
Those were fine. I mean, I can't.
Super cool.
I can't think of a single thing that either didn't push limits, like that recent space one, which was weird, but you can't say that was a lazy effort. Even that movie he did in Toronto about his daughter's bat mitzvah, which was hilarious. It was a wonderful, tiny.
Ironically, that paid for his daughter's bat mitzvah.
I have to see that movie.
It was
actually.
You know what? It was a lot of fun, and a lot of my friends were in it. And but again, this is a man who is jumping genres. He did that movie where he was the jewelry dude. That was not a pleasant experience.
Uncut Gems or
Uncut
whatever,
Gems. That
I mean,
wow. I mean, the man is.
I've
really,
not
really
liked his
talented.
movies for the last decade or better, and I used to call him out or call out the fact that basically he was taking Sony for a ride, and Sony figured it out, right? And he even admitted basically that that's kind of what he ended up doing by the end, was getting Sony to pay $100 million for him to take his friends on vacation.
Well, he's grown up.
And I mean, it was ironically the movie that kind of did that was the movie Grown Ups and Grown Ups 2. But that being said, they're still popular enough, and you guys are 100% right. He found his niche on Netflix. It's a place where they don't mind spending 60, 70, 80 million dollars on one of his movies or more, a little bit more, because the people watch him. He's like comfort food.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably huge in the Midwest. I imagine, and just certain. I mean, he was always huge around here when he first got started. But I mean,
he's growing an audience all over the world because of his Netflix movies.
Well, he's been around for 30 years now, basically doing this. So I mean, he's one of those few comedians. I mean, I may not like his movies as of the last 10, 15 years, like I said, but I can't take away from him that he's grown this audience of loyal people that watch his stuff and they like his comedy. I mean, a lot of people still bugging me to watch his Hubie Halloween movie. I will also give him that. Once he went to Netflix, it feels like he kind of retreated back to his safe zones, right? Like he stopped doing the grown-up stuff so much and started going back to the character-driven stuff. Which it just depends on if you're into the jibbity-doo voices and stuff.
Right,
yeah.
right. Oh no, I you know what? We need more producers like Adam Sandler out there
I
to
agree.
save TV.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So kudos to Adam Sandler because he has exactly what's needed. He has his niche. He has his fans. He has someone that super funds his movies, and they are budgeted just right.
Yep.
So that they are all profitable. The people paying the bills are happy. His friends are happy. They still get to go on vacations, and his fans are happy. Win-win all around. So
the only thing I don't get, well, I would say it's win-win all around, except for one thing: the theaters, because we live in a world now that's perfectly set up for streaming to drop their movies in theaters for about a month and then throw them on streaming and then make them movies worth more. But they're still not doing that. In fact, Amazon announced that they're getting out of that altogether. They're no longer going to release any movies to theaters.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I think Amazon, I mean, they rarely do, and when they do, it's more or less.
He-Man is an exception because they've said that one is going to theaters.
Yeah, that's Amazon. That's Amazon. Did I say Amazon? I meant Apple. Sorry, Apple.
I think you said Amazon.
Did I? I meant Apple. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
yeah, Apple is getting out of that completely. Amazon, on the other hand, they're not because of MGM. They're getting more into it. Netflix is kind of in the middle. Like it's more like they use the point I was going to get to anyway was Netflix basically just uses the few times it does release movies in theaters for a weekend or two as more or less advertising for their movie.
Yeah,
I mean,
and what's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with it, but I still don't see why you just don't give it a proper release sometimes. Because I did not like Beverly Hills Cop 4, but I guarantee you they'd have made like 80 to 120, 150 million dollars if they left it in theaters for a month.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm just saying. I mean, it makes no sense.
No, I think it makes sense in the case of Sandler though, because those movies are perfectly calibrated for being exactly what they are.
Oh yeah,
if they had gone to theaters, they would have been flop after flop after flop. This is the kind of like, this is the stereotypical Netflix and chill movie.
I agree with you. I agree with you up until Happy Gilmore 2. That's one that I think that they could make some money on in theaters.
But all of his other stuff, they are perfectly calibrated for this goes straight to Netflix. It's calibrated for that. And if we spend 30 million marketing it to put in theaters, that's 30 million we're not going to get back again. And his entire model is thrown into a loop. So
well, and that was my point of bringing like because Beverly Hills Cop 4, had they just thrown it in theaters for a month, and that would have been right after Bad Boys 4, which did well. So
that
I feel
could
like
be.
It would have. That's what I'm saying is like I think they're leaving money on the table that could cover some of these productions if they would just give them like a limited theatrical release. And I brought this up before, is like that was the big difference between some of these straight to video movies back in the day and a movie that would even just get tossed in theaters for a few weeks just so they could say on the ad they would send us at the video store, you know, theatrical release X amount in theaters and you know, and it would make the price of the movie go up. But anyway, yeah, Happy Gilmore 2. Interesting. I didn't plan on talking about it that long, but thank you, Packing Proton. Speaking of sequels, though, I did see that Warner Brothers must have turned down the Rush Hour 4 sequel. Did you guys see that? They're shopping it around to other studios.
Wow.
I can't believe Zaslav would turn that down, but okay, unless they wanted too much money. Or
that's what I'm
Ratner's
thinking.
Attached.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That the way that you turn that movie down is you see that, okay, this franchise is now 20 years old. The leads are all old. How much do they want paid? Oh, you want 150 million in total for the movie? Yeah, that's not going to fly. That's what I'm thinking, that they're asking too much, probably too much than the movie is likely to run back again. So simple as that.
Is it that, or is it because Brett Ratner's involved? See, I think they can't make it without him. Because I think he owns part of the franchise or whatever.
Yeah, and then he's going to demand so and so much money to.
Well, I think it's less that than just his reputation at this point, like that, because he's been soft canceled basically. But yeah,
well, I'm sure it's a combination of several things there.
I mean, he hasn't made a movie in what, 5 years now, almost, since he was.
Yeah,
canceled?
and that makes spending a lot of money on his movies all the more risky.
Yeah, so
reputation aside, then he's.
I'm kind of surprised they turned it down though, because there was some buzz for it. But
yeah, well,
I did hear that Jackie Chan wants quite a bit too, probably.
Probably.
I'm honestly not surprised, because while Warner is not in as big problems as some media like to claim, they're not in a position where they can blow 100 million here, 100 billion there on projects that are really, really risky. And I would say a Rush Hour 4 from Brett Ratner with too high a budget, which probably is going to be, is a very risky endeavor.
Poor Chris Tucker just can't win. He was, because I don't know if you guys caught this, but recently a scoop that we had years ago about the Last Friday movie, it turns out that was true, and Ice Cube walked away from the project because they were arguing about it all over at New Line, or well, Warner Brothers, whatever, and it just didn't happen. But yeah, like every time it turns around, Chris Tucker's got a movie that might happen, because that's what he must do, is just sit around and wait for a Rush Hour movie. I swear, because he's only been in like one movie in the last 20 years, Air, and he's barely in the movie. Like, it's like,
oh, this is the case for many actors. But let's move on to the super chat that's actually on.
Yeah, let's. Mike and Ayers sends in 499, says this shit show feels like the 2021 Cowboy Bebop's cancellation all over again. More entertaining than the canceled shows and free to enjoy. Yeah, I think I get what you're saying there, Mike and Ayers.
Yeah, well, basically what he's saying, that the whole shit show around the show is more fun than the show ever could be. Yeah, that's what Disney is doing right now. With the exception of Deadpool and Wolverine, which is a Ryan Reynolds production, every single woke Disney production is more entertaining in terms of the behind-the-scenes drama and fallout than anything that's actually on screen. So,
and curiously enough, I think Ryan Reynolds is positioning himself as a studio, like more and more. Like I know that he's got his own business, many businesses actually. He's very entrepreneurial, but his involvement in Blake Lively's movie, which apparently he walked into and quote unquote fixed on behalf of his wife, it just seems to me that he actually is seeking more influence in Hollywood in general. I think he's shooting for he might actually be a comedy savior for a period of time. I mean, I can see him doing more and more productions. He wants.
He's not just the Marvel Jesus; he's the Hollywood Jesus.
I think he's pushing. He's making a major power play.
He's the savior, the redeemer, and the way.
Well, we shall see that. He has a sense of humor.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say he might want to slow down a little bit, because there's a lot.
I agree.
There's a lot of he's at that point where I feel like he's getting so big that a bunch of people want to tear him down. Now, I don't know if it's true that he's a big pain in the ass to deal with, but that's the rumor that goes around.
Well, you kind of have to a certain degree.
You do. But the big thing now is they're trying to, and this is what's weird about this whole production thing. I don't know how aware you are of this, Paul. Maybe you're up to speed with it, but I don't know if Andre is. But like, yeah, so basically this whole deal with his wife's movie, it ends with us. The rumor going around, and this is coming from crew and cast, that basically Blake and Ryan Reynolds came in and took over the production from the director. Now, the director hasn't said any of this shit. And so it's just basically this he said, she said bullshit behind the scenes. Now, the movie's a success, and now they recently asked the director if he was going to be directing the sequel, because I guess there's a series of books in this series about domestic violence. And that's the other thing that the movie's gaining some controversy over. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But like, he was asked, are you going to direct the sequel? And he goes, well, I think Blake's ready. And that was his response. He didn't say anything else. So it kind of feels like, yeah, they came in and took over. So, I mean, I guess it depends on who you believe, but they're getting a bit of a reputation right now because of this. But hey, I guess I would say as long as their movies are successful, ain't nobody in Hollywood going to say shit to them other than people below them, basically. And they're just bitching and pissing and moaning at this point.
Well, you really
but I feel like they are ramping up to try and cancel him in some way, was what I was getting to.
Well, the only point I would make is that he might be running himself too thin. Yeah, he was involved in that video game movie Free, which was somewhat successful. What was the one that he played a video game character? not Free Willy.
Free Guy.
Free Guy.
Free Guy. So that was one of his films. And that was okay. I mean, you know, if that's the stuff, if that's the worst thing that he makes, then, you know, I think he has a pretty good chance of creating his own little mini fiefdom.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. But let's yeah, actually, we have one for you relating to an earlier one. Marksman of 117B wonders, Paul, have you seen Adam Sandler's Spaceman yet?
No, I have not, but I'm planning on it.
Yeah, just since we were talking about that.
What are your thoughts there?
I actually haven't seen it myself.
No, I'm talking about the commenter.
Yeah, well, let us know in the comments. Tom, did you see it?
No, but I know the one you're talking about. I don't have Netflix, so I barely watch anything off of Netflix, unfortunately. It's too expensive anymore.
Hey, Fletcher.
We got Fletcher Williams, I Suck at Games channel, sends in a member chat for 7 months. Thank you so much.
And he of course will be on Midnight's Edge Espanol afterwards, that this stream will redirect towards.
He will.
And Satan's Retribution says for 35 South African rounds, I'm seeing more evidence KK is gone come October. If true, who takes over as interim until Mando, Skeleton Key, and Andor are out before a purge? So yeah, okay, let's play this game. First of all, we do not know that she really is out, but let's just say, hypothetically, for the sake of argument, KK is gone come from October. Who takes over?
I'm done with hypothetical KK gone games. She's a
Kiri
vampire.
Hart, not Kiri Hart. What's her name?
She's
Kiri Hart's the one that got fired already. The other
she's
chick that's been
Rasputin.
sitting there.
You can't kill her. She's Rasputin.
Not really. No, I think she'll be there for a bit.
Yeah.
Well, sorry. Continue the game. I didn't mean to throw a wrench in it.
No, I'm trying to remember the chick's name.
Well, now you're showing respect.
It's that one she's been grooming for years, and I can't remember.
Yeah, but she was kicked out too, wasn't she? The one after Kiri Hart. She didn't really work out, did she?
Michelle Rochwan, that's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
No, she's still there. Michelle, okay. I think, is still. Otherwise, it might be Filoni, but I don't even think this is going to happen yet, because I think she's going to be there for a little bit longer. But then again, it could be this year. There might be some pressure coming down, because I just recently saw a story about Bob Iger claiming he's ready to retire, although he could just be talking out of his ass.
Of course he is.
But, I mean, you also get to a point where, I mean, these guys have been trying to get this Star Wars thing to work for, what, almost a decade now? And they haven't. They've had basically one actual success they can lean on, and that's The Force Awakens. And even that's a house of cards, if you really think about it, because that movie was going to make that much money, even if it was just Luke Skywalker farting for 20 minutes. Just because, people were so anticipating the return of those characters and to go back to that galaxy, etc., etc. But that being said, I mean, Bob, on the other hand, has got even more shit on his shoulders with Marvel and everything else. I mean, KK, I think she's in denial. She's going to be in denial. She'll never accept that she has destroyed this franchise, because she's done exactly what she wanted to do to it from the start. Let's be real. I mean, it's always been about...
Put a chick in it, make her gay!
And she got her wish. Now she just has to make that successful, Paul. That's the trick.
Yeah.
It sounded like you were going to say something, too. That's why
it's never her fault.
No. Well, she's not a creative, Paul. See, that's the creative's job.
That's correct. I was only managing the money. I was only touching the money. Well, touching the Manny.
The power of Manny.
That's right.
I think like they're on the verge of a purge. I like that. No. The purge has already happened outside of Lucasfilm. It sounds like KK has way too much control there. That's what it keeps sounding like. So, I mean, George might have put her in a position where she's there until she decides she's good and ready to fucking leave for the most part. She might, and that's why I keep saying she'd have to do some really bad shit. She probably has to go to an extreme for them to be able to get rid of her outside of on her own accord.
I would have thought that losing however many billions she has lost them would be enough, but evidently it isn't. So she's still there. So I'm not going to speculate on any. She's gone until she actually is gone. Then we can talk about purge and stuff like that, and what even can be done with the brands that she has destroyed at this point. And also on that note, the Red Dawn Batman's been a member for 15 months and wonders, with the Acolyte being dead in the water, how long before it gets willowed? Basically, how long before it gets the Zaslaw treatment, is pulled off of Disney servers, and it's made like it never existed at all. You know what? I think it's a fairly decent chance that might happen. That would be hilarious, but I wouldn't be surprised if that did happen. What say you, Paul? Do you think there's any chance?
Of which one being willowed?
The Acolyte.
Well, they're going into season 2. Sorry, not the Acolyte. Sorry, I thought you were talking about Ahsoka.
No, the Acolyte. He's not saying about the Ahsoka, saying the Acolyte.
You mean like complete? Oh, you mean
getting the willow treatment.
I get it. It disappears off the channel.
Withdrawn, and they claim a tax credit, and they can never ever release it again in any format ever.
The Willow was a different kind of bad. It had no fans, even from the encampment terrorist supporters. I would say that the chance of Acolyte being deep sixth like that, it's not going to happen.
I agree with Paul. It's not likely, but it has a better chance than anything else ever before, because it has very little that ties in with anything else.
And it's so much money was put into it.
There is that, but so was Willow, right? Like, so that, I mean, I can see the possibility of it happen, but I'm leaning more towards what Paul says. I think they'll still keep it on there, but it'll be one of those things that they just never talk about it again. Sad, because we'll never find out about whatever happened to that little green guy at the end with the ears.
And is Echo still on Disney Plus?
I believe it is
still on Disney Plus.
See, now that's a show. That's a show that needs to be willowed.
I agree with you.
What really needs to be willowed, the Secret Invasion. Not really.
Oh my God! Yes.
But I mean, honestly, you guys, I think there's more of a chance of that shit happening to the Marvel stuff quietly just disappearing someday than there ever probably is of Acolyte. You're right, Paul. I agree with you there.
Yeah. The only way that I can see any of it happening is if Disney actually does retool the Star Wars universe and puts it back into some logical timeline and gets rid of shows that retcon stuff.
Yeah. No, I think that many more things needs to be willowed.
I like that.
Now that we seem to be getting, I've used the term Zaslawed myself.
No, willowed is better.
Started it, but I guess maybe willowed is better.
I like it better.
Yeah, it's kind of like I was partial to the term headless snarf for the animals in that stupid Marvel movie until Mike, the Mexican lineman, came up with rabbit chicken. Of course, that was the better term. So yeah, I guess let's just call it willowed from here on out. I would love to see a bunch of stuff released these past 5-10 years be willowed, both the Acolyte and a bunch of Marvel stuff. I don't think it's likely that it's going to happen, but if it did, I wouldn't be tremendously shocked. And while it's unlikely, if anything of Star Wars is going to be willowed, it's the Acolytes. And remember, Lucasfilm, they didn't want the willowed. It was done for them anyway, regardless of what they felt about it. The same can be done with the Acolyte.
That's true. I didn't really think of it from that perspective, but yeah.
I like these coined terms. I think my favorite one so far is Heinerscheided.
Yeah, that was me. I'm the
That
one
was
who
you.
invented that. Yeah, that was me.
Good. That was good. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah. And whenever you see a YouTube thumbnail with white and yellow letters, that was me as well. No one did that before I did. But anyway, moving on. Not for real.
You should have copyrighted it.
Oh, there's so
We
many.
should have
things out
copyrighted
there
the term streaming wars too. Trust me on that one.
That too.
First time I saw it in a headline, I'm like, son of a bitch. Not that it would have mattered. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's so many things that so many out there should have copyright. There's just
no. I think the most poignant thing you ever said about this whole era, Andre, before, and I hope you are right about this, is we keep getting these stupid warning labels before movies now that say, "Oh, this was made in an era where, ideas and stuff like that weren't the way." I can't even remember how stupid they are. You know how they say this thing like, shit's in here's racist" or something like that. Basically, in so many words.
Do you
I hope the reverse happens, is what Andre's been saying for a while, is that hopefully in about 10, 15 years from now, all the shit from this era will be the things that actually have warning labels.
Do you want to get a good laugh? So I did a video making fun of the warning that Disney puts in front of its stuff now, right?
Yeah.
Because it's funny. It is worded in such a way that when I spoke it out loud, YouTube demonetized the video.
Wow.
Really?
They found the warning offensive.
Impressive.
Isn't that so? There were words in it that
are considered offensive.
That were considered offensive. This is in the warning that Disney puts in front of its as many of its videos. I didn't care. I mean, it didn't bug me. I just thought that was hilarious that the warning is actually offensive to YouTube.
Well,
that warning is offensive to me. Exactly. Andre and I were going to the same place.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I look forward to one day when all of the stuff released this year can have the content warning that this was neo-Marxist propaganda meant to influence and demotivate you. So, yeah, but we're not there yet. Let's see what happens. Meanwhile, we have a few more super chats to go.
You guys want to laugh at some woke on woke crime? Pro-Palestine protesters have interrupted Steve Colbert's Late Show interview with Nancy Pelosi.
Wow. Yeah, I saw a headline of that, yes.
I heard you guys talking about it before I got here, so that's why.
Plenty more of that in the DNC convention right now.
I think it's hilarious.
So,
well,
mostly,
I mean, they got nothing else to do.
Protesting.
Oh, yeah, it's stupid. It's stupid.
Yeah. But moving on with these super chats here. Chris K says for $5, hail to the panel. Have you gentlemen heard about Civilization 7? If so, thoughts? I guess you are referring to Sid Meier's Civilization, which are games that I used to like. I think I like the first one. I played that a little bit on the PC. Are they up to 7 now? Yeah, I think
I was going to say, I think 4 was the last one I think I played. So, gosh, they've had a couple since then.
Let's see. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is coming soon. It's coming in August or something. No, it's coming later. It says, 2025. Yeah. Obviously, we're not too familiar with it, but I hope it'll be awesome for the fans. It'll be interesting to see how they've been able to modernize that since the day.
Yeah, I don't like Sid Meier since he nixed our game for EA. I don't talk about Sid Meier's. He's dirt to me.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope it'll be fun. Something else fun is that we are joined by Paulie. How's it going, my friend?
Hey, how's it going? How's my mic? Can you hear me?
Yo,
well, we hear you loud and clear, and you're
very good.
Excellent. Very good, very good. Well, in lieu of Mexican Iron Man not being able to come here and balance the white card on here, I've been elected, even though I'm technically Caucasian. So white lives matter.
Woohoo!
And we're canceled with the DNC.
Maybe I should. Does it sound nicer if I say gringos lives matter?
Well, I guess.
Yeah, but
I think gringos technically are only Americans, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So we have one gringo in the panel, and
no, you're not a gringo. I mean,
no, Tom is.
Paulie is not a gringo.
No, actually, I depending on who you talk to, I would be an Americano.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm a cappuccino.
Oh, latte jokes.
Yeah, I'm not even that, but yeah,
Right.
I don't even know what that.
Yeah, Tom. So Tom's the gringo.
Yes.
Tom is Taco Bell Lives Matter. What's up?
All good. We're going through a few super chats here, and the next one is Satan's Retribution, who wonders for 14 South African rounds. What happens if the Mando films fails to make 1 billion? I'd be shocked if that were to make 1 billion.
I would. No, I don't know. I mean, it has a shot. It has a shot. I mean, it all depends on. I mean,
when is this coming out, Tom? When is it
next
released?
Christmas? I think, isn't it? It's supposed to be.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, it got delayed. I know that because it was supposed to be out. I think, or was it next Christmas? It was supposed to be out initially, and it got delayed a year again.
That's a
so it's
great
either 20.
release.
It might be 2026. It doesn't come out till.
Yeah.
The only reason I think Mando has a chance is because of that Baby Yoda. And kids and girls love that. So
they got to take it out of the. They've made it female centric. They've put what's her name as the main sort of Mando person. They got to return it to Mando.
I think they have been for the movie.
Have they?
I think.
Okay. I don't trust them.
I mean, it's called Mando and Grogu.
I think it started shooting, so it might be out next Christmas.
Yeah, there was a lot of Pedro stuff shot.
Yeah,
because of his scheduling. I think you're right, Tom. It's all about Baby Yoda with the mainstream audience and the families that are going to be going to the movies during the holidays. That's a home run right there, man. That release date. If it's in like mid to late December, it's gonna do.
Oh,
well.
That's right. They moved it to May of 2026. Thank you, Coach Dragon. I thought they moved it again. I was like, they did, but it wasn't as far off. You're right. Thank you, Coach, for correcting me. Yes. Okay. So
that's different.
They're giving it back to the summer and I also said that was a disappointment of mine from the start when they decided to start releasing the movies at Christmas instead of summer. I'm like, hold up, Star Wars has always been a summer movie. Why are you doing this at Christmas time? Makes absolutely no sense to me. But that's
the Disney sequels did a Christmas time, right?
Well, Disney always owned Christmas. That was kind of always their thing. Like they always found a way to manage it. And it wasn't until like Avatar and some other movies started coming along that they started losing out. So like that used to be their ground. Like they would always end up releasing a Pixar movie at Thanksgiving, so it would dominate through Christmas. Basically, is the way they used to, or their big animated film of the year.
But I think that this is all riding on Favreau. This is Favreau's baby, so it's ride or die.
Yeah. What are we saying, Paul?
This is a Favreau movie?
Yes, it is. Yeah. It's Favreau. That's why it has a chance, and why I think it's unlikely to reach 1 billion because of the brand damage. But hey, if he's able to make a terrific movie and win fans back again, nothing better than that. But,
well, I mean, if he's able to make the argument that, look, folks, you tossed me after season 2, basically handed it over to Filoni. I really didn't have much to do with it because I was pissed off and, blah, blah, blah. And look at the results. It turned into a piece of shit. Give it back to me. And if that's the deal that he's making, then, that's good news.
And best of luck to him.
Best of luck. And that's kind of Ryan Reynoldsing Mando.
And that's exactly what Star Wars needs right now.
Yes.
Only, of course, there the damage is even greater than it is with Marvel. Moving on from there, Brian Barth says for 5 months. Panel, did you see that new Megalopolis trailer was released? What are your thoughts? Also, do you think this film has a shot at the box office? I took a brief look at the trailer. To me, it looks intriguing. It is from Lionsgate, which means that it cost way too much, and it's not going to be marketed well enough, and it's likely going to be a massive, massive flop. But
This is
the movie
Coppola's
could be
passion
all right.
project that he spent all his money on. So I don't
Correct.
think Lionsgate spent anything on it.
Yes. But then he's going to trust it to Lionsgate
for distribution.
Yeah, that rarely works out.
They're the only ones who wanted it, sadly. And I'm trying to figure out if the movie's actually bad or if it's because there's been this ongoing campaign to try and cancel Coppola for like what, year or two now. They've been just going hardcore at him.
Why?
I think it's because he produced this movie outside the Hollywood bubble.
Well, the specific complaints are that he was inappropriate on the set. I mean, he's been inappropriate on his own sets since the 70s. You know,
that's true. But the one lady that said she had no problem with it, it was fine, whatever. And then there was some other lady that come out, and I'm like, well, where's her video though? Like the other lady that claimed that, yeah. So it feels like an orchestrated effort. Sorry, go ahead, Paulie.
No, I was just gonna say, you know, but the inappropriateness is like him just, you know, either yelling at cast and crew or giving big hugs. I mean, it's a bunch of nothing. But Tom's right, is that they've been going after Coppola, and it's really strange for like the last year and a half.
Should it have something to do with some people wanting him just to leave the industry and leave way for younger and more diverse creators? I'm just speculating. I don't know.
I mean, speculating even. I think there's a certain type of outlook from the Coppolas in general that's just very independent minded. Sophia, Nick Cage, where even Sophia was talking about how she wouldn't be able to get away with making certain things from Lost in Translation, but she doesn't apologize for her work at all. Like her kids were like, saying, "Oh my God, you know, you have this and that in your movie," and she's like, "Yeah, well, that's how it is." So there's a certain amount of like just kind of, you know, these guys have always been pretty independent minded, grounded in their own, you know, quirkiness, and have always had such a, you know, fantastic, cinematic takes, you know, with their work. I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't know if it's rubbed people the wrong way. Definitely, it seems in Hollywood for a while, Tom, that people can't tolerate that type of creativity or artistry right nowadays.
Yeah, there's something at least where he's not tolerated, but yeah, we'll see what happens. What happens with that movie? Packing Proton says for $20. What I don't get about modern Hollywood is not that the movie fails because it's women. It fails because it's badly written and girl boss. I'd love to see a good Bat/Supergirl movie in the style of the animated series. And yeah, of course, you are right. I mean, this is something that they conveniently hide behind and say, no, dude bros are against women and people of color. When no, people are against really shitty activist content. And unfortunately, that's where they push their more diverse talent. So obviously it fails. Would have failed anyway with that kind of mindset. So yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's how it is.
I mean, your title was it like the what we're doing on Midnight's Edge Espanol after this is this the end of woke, and we're, you know, they're Fletcher and Lily are going to be pointing to items, you know, such as Acolyte, or what is that new game that everyone loves, the monkey one,
Black Myth.
Yeah, as examples of that, packing protons. With Supergirl, even just casting a blonde, white, you know, for lack of better words, Caucasian woman again, it's like maybe, you know, you're seeing that here and there a little bit. Not to say Sasha Calle was not talented. It's just
wasn't the right role for her. I mean,
It's misguided.
She's fantastic, but she wasn't the right pick for that role. It's like the same thing with I forget her name right now, who they just cast as Tila. And,
Camila Mendes.
Yeah, and she is, by all accounts, a talented young actress, and I would love to see her getting high-profile roles. I'm sure she earns it. Not sure that she's being set up to succeed with being cast as Tila specifically.
Well, we were talking about this as well because Mendes is what, 5'1", 5'2". Nicholas, who's playing He-Man, he's like what, 6'3", 6'4". So there's something creative going on there. What that vision is, we have no idea. You could always throw a red wig or dye her hair red, but you're right. She is an American of Brazilian descent, so she's not the pale skin Nordic.
It's not going to look much better than Jessica Alba did with blue contact lenses and that blonde wig in Fantastic Four.
Good example.
I mean is like
good. Although Camila can act way better than Jessica Alba.
I'm sure all respect to Jessica Alba, but like the character of Sue Storm is kind of like this Midwestern gal that if you moved her into, say, Norway, would fit right in. If you take the Jessica Alba version of Sue Storm and you shifted her to Norway, let's just say that she would stick out like a sore thumb.
Although my understanding is that Jessica Alba has got a massive business enterprise.
She's a very successful business
and could probably finance her own movies from now on.
She could if she wanted to, but she doesn't need to. Because she is a massive success. And all respect to Jessica
and
Alba.
good for her. Yes, exactly right.
Good for her. Massive success story that we don't hear enough about. But she is someone that, I probably should be careful about my praise because I guess there's things I don't know here. But
well, I'm just gonna push back on her. I think she's a terrible actress. She's got a great side business.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. That side business is where she's successful. Yeah.
Right. All respect to that. Me and Romy try to watch that latest Assassin movie where she was like a former, sniper assassin or whatever. It was so bad.
Yeah, like I say, respect to her as a businesswoman and her accomplishments there. That's what I respect her for. And then she also has a few high-profile movies under her belt in terms of the craft of acting. Maybe that's not where she deserves the most respect.
And let's be clear about this. Like, look, it has less to do, or it's less of an importance that she looks of any kind of like Nordic or any kind of descent, because they're on another planet. Okay, so an argument can be made, as long as you find a good actress who fits the role, it doesn't matter. She could be black, she could be Asian, it doesn't really matter, because Tila is technically an alien as far as Earth's concerned. But at the end of the day, to kind of quote Richard Donner when he was dealing with, Marlon Brando, basically, every kid in America or every kid in the world knows what Tila looks like. Right. And that's the problem they're having now. And that takes me back to The Little Mermaid, right? Like I loved that video of the little black girl going, her parents are like waiting for her to get all excited because there's a new Little Mermaid and she's black. And she's like, why is her hair not red? Why is she black? I don't get it. So even kids are smart enough to go, wait a minute here. You're trying to pull the woolly, look, my point is this. The only reason she got the job is because of her ethnicity. That's it. Let's be real here.
Have you seen
it's not because she's the best actress for the role.
Have you seen those interviews where they're going into the hood and asking, hey, you're gonna vote for what you would expect? They're like, hell no, I'm voting for
Orange
DT. And it's like homie after homie gonna vote for DT, and then the interviewer's in shock.
I believe you're referring to Mr. Don Lemon himself, who had that shocking experience.
There's a couple more than that too.
Yeah, there's several of them.
Yeah, there's several of them, but Tom's absolutely right. It really depends on if you're gonna redo something, it depends on what your vision is, who the actors are. Has any race swapping, for lack of a better word, reimagined work of a prior IP genre that we cover, has it worked? Has any new one worked? New iteration worked, in your opinion?
I'm sure there must be some, but there's none that comes to mind.
And
well,
I mean,
yes,
maybe
one.
Julia Sweeney or Julie,
No,
not
no,
Julie
Nick
Sweeney,
Fury.
Sydney Sweeney. I mean,
Nick Fury. Nick Fury is now completely and utterly synonymous with Samuel L. Jackson. But there was precedent for that in the comics, because 5 years before he was cast in the MCU, they did that in the Ultimate line of comics. That's the one thing that stands out to me that really, really worked. But Samuel L. Jackson is not the first Nick Fury on screen. That's actually David Hasselhoff, who played him in a 1997 direct-to-video movie. But that is the one thing that comes to mind that really works. And no one cares, no one minds, because it was only a so-so known character to begin with, and Samuel L. Jackson absolutely embodied and owned that role. So that's the one thing that comes to mind that really did work.
Well,
the
issue is not about mining the past. It is not the fault of the original creators that go back 50 plus years, when number one, there were way more white people in the United States than any other minority. And white people made those characters initially. So they did what they knew. They happened to have gotten popular. So many characters died, actually. I mean, it went to the wayside because that's just a process of creativity. And then as the United States and the world, let's say the United States, just for this argument, changed demographically, then yeah, sure, there was this overlap where people of color were not included, but now that's not happening anymore. And there shouldn't be mining of the past. It should be constantly moving forward. That's really the key to this, is that a bunch of people played to their strengths, entertained the audience that they had at that moment. Let's get a group of people to make new stuff that entertains the audience that we have now. That's the part that we're missing.
Yeah, it's very true.
And again, 9 times out of 10, I don't care. I couldn't even really care less on this
part. Oh, sure.
Here's my bigger problem with this here now is I could care less about the casting in a sense. It's more so about the fact that I know how they're going to present this movie. I'm more worried it's going to be a repeat or worse than Revelations, right? Like it's going to be Teela in the Masters of the Universe instead of He-Man in the Masters of the Universe, right? Like that's what I'm worried about more so at this point. I could give a shit less about who's cast because I know it's going to suck. Like, I have so little faith in this movie. They could surprise the piss out of me, but I know they won't. And I've been looking forward to this for years. Like, Andre and I, one of the first things we bonded over was He-Man. And I know that sounds gay as hell, but it's true.
I was just going to say that.
But, yeah, no, Paul is not wrong.
No, and I was even saying that as well in regards to just that shield that has been built up of, like, it's gonna suck, and I have every right to have that shield up that Tom has, and he's not alone, and that has to be respected too. It's like, we have given you our childhoods, and you completely ruined our childhoods from example after example. You need to prove to us now if you want us back. Right. And Paul talked about how it's going to take at least a good year, right? You're saying like television or string of hits. I was listening to you yesterday, hombre, what you had to say. And it can't just be like one, it can't be one Deadpool. It's, it can't be one, because what do you got after Deadpool, Marvel? Agatha, which according to my real source is actually a very good standalone.
Wow, really?
Oh. Yes. And that same source is viable with a lot of other stuff, and that same source is Gore's, is Nerderotics, where he was saying that not only it is a really good TV show, but it's standalone. I said, oh, okay, well, I don't know if I'll watch it, but because that visor's up, but after that, and I said, well, what about the Captain America that's coming on the theaters? And he was just like, you know what I mean? So
not too optimistic about that one.
No, Davina. That is not my source on the source I have is a real person as far as working for that company. Completely different source, and it's verified by other people that I just said, Chris
exactly.
and they're
The people, Davina is just teasing, she says. So
yeah. So it's like, okay, you have Captain America: Brave New World. I mean, you get, you got this blessing, you got this miracle home run of, that's called Deadpool. How are you gonna advance? How are you gonna move forward? And probably not.
That's what I was afraid of. That it's gonna be Picard season 3 all over again. That's my worry, because it came from outside, and the people that are running the show at Marvel, they're not necessarily down with the awesomeness that was Deadpool versus Wolverine. But let's move on here. Vicente Cruz says for $5, Amazon released a teaser yesterday on a new anthology series that focuses on the stories that take place in the worlds of video games. Look decent. All right. Don't know what it's called, but we'll have to check that out. Thanks for the tip. Kelechi Oki has been here for 8 months, and we are glad to have you, my friend. Eclipse Warlord's been a member for 32 months. Time flies, saying, Solo lost money. How much more has the streaming shows lost? Oh, billions upon billions, depending on networks. If it wasn't on Netflix, it lost money. Simple as that, really. If it's on Disney Plus, it lost money. So whenever Disney wasted 100, 200 million on something, that's money they didn't get back again. On HBO Max, it's a little bit more mixed, because that was a stable platform to begin with. Netflix, they're doing fairly okay all in all, but generally, all of the big high-profile shows meant to be like the big competitors in the streaming wars to take on Netflix, they were all massive big losses ever since Star Trek Discovery onwards. Paul, you look like you want to say something.
Yeah, the irony is, because we're dealing with technology, streaming technology, a show that does not bring in subscribers, the streamers actually don't want anybody to watch them, because it's bandwidth. Suddenly they have bandwidth costs, which are huge. I cannot tell you how much that is. And yeah, that's the irony, is that now that it's clear the Acolyte is not bringing in any new subscribers, and potentially not holding the ones that they've got, even, they don't want it. They don't want anyone streaming it.
Yeah. And I know we are losing. Here's we're going to rush through to this one right here. Rambam 3000 says for. Oh no, that was for Paulie, actually. I thought it was for Paul. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, we'll put that up later. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. He says for £5. Paulie, I got my copy of They Call Me Charleston plus poster and bookmark. Thank you very much.
Yep, there's a poster right there. Thank you for supporting it. We've sold about 200 books.
Nice.
Thank
you, guys.
Awesome. I don't see anything specifically for Paul. We are almost done here, but thank you for joining us too. If you got like 2-3 more minutes, we can go through the rest here. Actually, I'd love your thoughts on this one. ActionCom wonders what will happen to the Acolyte actresses. Will they move on? Did they damage their reputations? What say you, former network executive?
It all depends on what they did extracurricularly.
That sounded really naughty.
If they were gracious and thankful, and it was what it was, like the girls from the Madam Web handled it super well. Madam Web did not hurt the careers of any of the girls, whereas anyone in the Acolyte that might have dived into intersectional bullshit, then there's still going to be heroes within Hollywood. But, that's not what the producers want. The producers want cheerleaders. even oh my God, the girl who's now in your friend there, Paulie, who's now
Ziegler.
No, not Ziegler, the good one.
Jenna.
Jenna's doing it right.
I mean, it's like a handbook.
Yeah.
How to and how not to. How
Yeah.
to? Jenna Ortega. How not to? Ziegler.
And it's not like Jenna doesn't have opinions. She's a feisty individual, but we're just getting a little bit of that. And you go, okay, it's nice to see that she's just not someone who is a pushover. But on the other hand, she's a really good cheerleader. Her work on the latest movie that she's on, I can't think of anything. I think it's going to be a huge Beetlejuice. She's done a great job promoting that.
Well, she's consistent, right?
Yeah.
And for when I mean that, she praises the work. She praises who she's working with. She praises the past if there's a history of it.
Yeah.
As she did with Wednesday and the Addams Family. Praising it, not tearing it down when no one has even seen your work.
Correct.
Right? You don't tear down you don't tear down something that's beloved because you're part of something brand new. And again, I cannot express it enough. It's a how-to celebrity and how not to celebrity. You put Jen in there, put Anya Taylor-Joy, put Sydney Sweeney in there, and then how not to. You got Amandla, you got Ziegler, you got Bozos, you got Wokosos. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
I was about to say, this diss track that Amandla put up against the fan base, you think that's going to do her any favors in Hollywood going forward?
Well, again, it's one of those long-term things. She could get one project that becomes a hit, and then everything is good again. So I don't know what she's like to work with. That also has a lot to do.
That's key. That's key.
Internally, producers don't want to work with assholes.
Yeah, indeed.
Well,
and before we go here, Packing Protons says, curious, did Paul ever see the series The Last Man on Earth that got canned? What does he think of shows like that with interesting ideas but no real endgame?
Did not see it. Did not see it. Comedy is a hard time right now.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I think it started out okay, but then it got woke as fuck or something like that. But I can't remember. I vaguely remember the show. Yeah, Krabby Patty saying the show went to shit.
Is that the British show?
I don't think so. I was gonna say, didn't it have like Will Arnett? Who was in it? Was it Will Arnett or who?
No,
I never saw it.
No.
I'm trying to remember who the star was, but yeah. It's not Why the Last Man. It's the other one. It was just like this comedy show about one guy left, but all the men are dead except for like one, and the women are still there. Will Forte, that's who it was. Yeah, Will Forte.
Forte.
Yeah, that's close.
they're all like,
yeah, they're all from that same era of that era. They're like interchangeable white boys.
Speaking of comedy, I saw that SNL. Is it a movie?
Yeah,
the new year movie. One, like opening night, year one.
Yeah. Well, it's just the opening show, I think. But yeah,
I got to tell you, man, it looks really good.
Yeah, it does. I agree with you.
We talked about that one. It was.
Oh,
fun.
We did. Okay.
No, we did on Mead. Paul and I did. We had him on a special edition. But no, we never really kind of addressed the question there, Andre. I mean, now you took it down, but why do they do those kind of things? Look, no show goes into a show thinking they're going to get canceled right away. I mean,
exactly.
And they still have to maintain a sense of, well, if we do continue, we have to have open ends, right? So again, like the last thing any show expects to do is get canceled within the first 2 seasons, but it's always something that I'm sure is in the back of their mind, right, Paul? I mean, that's probably the most vulnerable time of any show, because once you hit that 3rd season, that's kind of when a show hits its stride. That's when you renegotiate. That's when you're on the way to the 5th season, which is when you get that 100 episodes, when you get into syndication. That's the way it used to be before streaming anyway.
Well, I mean, I can just say that when you're in a network show, it's just nonstop anxiety. You're waiting to be picked up. Then you're waiting to get your slot, and then you find out your slot is up against All in the Family, and then you're ready to commit suicide, and then you hope for the best, and then it maybe works out. They move you to a better time because of your producer that is begging and the network heads. And then you hope you don't get canceled after the 10th episode, or you've already shot 10 episodes, but they cancel after 3.
Right.
And then
they show them out of order or something on you too. That's another thing that's happened.
That's rare. That's
rare, but it does happen.
Rare. And then let's say you get the first season done, and then you wait for the season 2 pickup to be given. And if you're kind of a fair to middling show, you can wait forever to find out. Showbiz is not fun.
Well, one show I can specifically remember getting killed early on because they showed the shows out of order was Clerks, the animated series. I hate sticking up for Kevin Smith, but that was one of the funniest cartoons ever made. And they screwed it up because the whole joke, okay, I don't know if you watched the show or not, but they showed the episode order of like episode 4, then episode 2, then like episode 1. And I think that was it. Or maybe they didn't even get to the 3rd showing. I can't remember now, but the whole point of the joke of episode 2 is it's a flashback episode.
Oh.
And there's only been 1 episode, so all they keep doing is flashing back to the first episode. Well, you didn't see the first episode they're flashing back to because they didn't show it. They showed episode 4 the week before, and there is an ongoing little storyline in the background, so the whole thing was lost as far as the jokes, but once you see it in its entirety in order, it is one of the most hilarious television cartoons you've ever seen. Like, because that was kind of the joke, was like, it was like, remember the time kind of jokes, and then all of a sudden they just keep flashing back to the episode before.
I can't help them.
But
and like the first joke was last time on Clerk. It was just nothing because there was no show.
That's funny.
So I mean, the show from the start was just barraging you with jokes, and one of the guys who produced Seinfeld worked on it and stuff, so it had some pedigree behind it. But anyway, this is one for Paul specifically. It looks like. Klekioki over on the Rumble side of things sent in 2 and said, Paul, been watching any anime recently? Mm-hmm. Got one to recommend. Kenichi,
yeah.
The Mightiest Disciple. Think Karate Kid anime. Once you've seen it, make Tom watch it. About time we turn that man into a weeb. No. Noby weeby stuff.
I've been watching the big one.
That's what she said.
I was gonna say, yeah, you need to stop talking to me like that, like you know me. But
no, it's an old anime featuring the world's best negotiator, and he has at his disposal a giant mech robot. And as it happens, at the end of every single episode, the enemy that he deals with also has a giant mech. And
oh my,
it arrives on train tracks wherever he is in the city, and he gets in it and does stuff, and it's just bizarre. He's got a daughter that's a robot, and it's bizarre, weird, kind of Cowboy Bebop-ish. It's got a jazz soundtrack. It's just wonderful. I'm really, really enjoying its weirdness. So there you go. That's what I'm watching right now. So cool. I'm going to go then.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure as always.
Not a problem. Always a pleasure. Yeah. Nice to see you, Polly.
Good to see you.
Yep. And we'll talk to you later, gents. Bye.
Have a good day.
Take care.
But stay tuned, kids. We got a couple more super chats, and I think we have one more quick story we're gonna.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Axicom, did we get this
got
one?
this one. Yeah, we just got that one.
Okay. Can I just say really fast with that one?
Sure, go for it.
A lot of them have already moved on. You know, this thing was filmed maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, just the way the press runs, it just seems like they just did it. If they're working actors, they have been auditioning, maybe getting some roles. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, I mean, this show's been done and over with for a while. It's not like they were sitting by the phone well, some people might have been, but most likely most people weren't sitting by the phone waiting for a phone call to see if you
No,
know,
I mean,
they were going to get renewed or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, what's her name that got killed in it? Spoilers. Then she was in Deadpool Wolverine.
Oh,
Yeah, she's working a
the chick
lot.
who plays Lara or whatever. Yeah.
Laura, yeah. You know,
I can't remember the actress's name. Daphne
Keane or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
other people, they've all moved on. Leslie's the only one who's probably sitting there licking her wounds right now, more so than anybody. But I do think that's a good point. I don't know what Amandla's been up to lately, Andre, but I am curious to see how that music video and the way she treated this whole thing is gonna.
I think it's going to benefit pretty much everyone here. They got
you could be
really
right,
high profile advertising they would not have gotten otherwise. Amandla just became a darling for the activists, so I'm sure that there's much more recognition to her name now than it was before the show, and she was able to capitalize with releasing like that diss track, which I'm sure also opened some doors. So I'm not too worried on either of them, especially not Manny Jacinto. Like this was like the other big thing he did since that.
I don't know about that with Amandla though, because she might have just outdone Brie Larson and Miss Rachel.
Weird.
With us, yeah, for sure.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and that has a lot more impact than I think you think. Maybe in the end of the day, I could be wrong, but I mean, if anybody's going to suffer, I think it's Amandla. You could be right though that she's just going to be hoisted up because of the activism, but yeah.
I think it depends if she was also not fun to work with on set, then yeah. She did get her injured on the set. She either fractured or broke her foot, and so that added costs during the filming of the Acolyte. Was in Portugal, I believe that it happened, and I hear she's actually very good to work with.
Well, that's gonna help her then.
Yeah, but with her reputation with half the audience, at least, I mean, she really went after at least half the audience with that song. So
that's what I mean. I mean, it'd be one thing if she was just saying stuff. That song was almost like taking it to that next level. You get what I'm saying? Like, yeah, Brie Larson said her shit. Rachel has said her shit. Most of Rachel's shit's been, most of the ire towards her has been the fact that she obviously has zero respect for the original movie. Amandla went out and basically pulled a Mark Hamill with the, go force yourself, but in the song, right? And we saw the reaction to Mark Hamill saying that. I mean, people already were kind of pissy with him over his politics, but for him to that was the moment he took his politics and combined it with Star Wars officially.
That's the one that really got the
yeah, I mean the Joe Blomi thing in the White House was bad enough.
Right.
The Joe Blomi Kenobi thing that he was pulling out like that. Okay, you're straddling the line a little bit there. But this going out and he, because this was his mantra this last week, right? And we kind of established, like, make no mistake about this. The only reason he was at that Chicago Fan Expo is because he was in town for the DNC. I'm convinced he's on the payroll, as most of these celebrities are. But that he was trying to get that kind of shit rolling. Like, go force yourself, right? Come on, seriously. How fucking childish can you be? And I can't believe Disney would allow that. But they are. They're 100% behind it.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm curious how that's even going to affect the yoga and Grogu and Mando movie. Because
you say yoga?
It's supposed to be in it.
I know. I was thinking of yoga in Spaceballs.
Yoga.
Star Wars. But anyway, because I'm sure that he is going to be in that movie in some capacity. But I think that by doing this, people are going to be less excited to see Luke Skywalker return, because Luke Skywalker, that image is going to be tainted by his off-screen antics, which he, as you pointed out, Tom, he has now mixed up with Star Wars.
Yep. And that's not going to help the case for Disney when it comes to Gina, but that's a whole nother can of worms, as because there is actually like 3 little stories we haven't got a chance to cover, and that is Gina's case is going to mediation. Disney graciously dropped the arbitration thing when it comes to the death case.
I got a video coming on that.
Yeah. And then the other thing was, of course, Bo DeMayo is basically his lawyer has now come out and shots have been fired back at Disney, and it looks like that may be going to a court case of sorts. So there may even be some discovery to look forward to there as well. So there's a lot kind of going on, but those three stories are kind of like, and then you have to wait and see what happens, if that makes sense, because it's going to be a bit before we know what it's going to be next in line. So, I mean, they're not really stories we can meander in, but I didn't know if Paul, you wanted to comment on any of those. Andre, if you wanted to. I've been lucky enough to have the chance to comment mostly on Mead. So, which you guys, if you haven't checked it out yet, is a completely different channel than this. We do stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the evening. So, it's myself and a few others on the panel. But yeah, so Paulie, I didn't know if you wanted to comment on any of those stories quick before we got any farther with this.
No, but I know Yellow Flash is in the chat. Want to talk about talking about One Piece? I don't know what's going on there.
Oh, he's on a One Piece kick right now, but we actually have a super chat for
One Piece is amazing. Yeah,
we got a super chat that actually brings him up here. John Thomas sent in 5 and says, "Did y'all discuss Tomb Raider getting canceled?" Yellow Flash posted a vid saying Amazon canned it. No, I did not. Well, we talked about it, but I didn't hear about it getting canceled.
That was a different Tomb Raider. There's two Tomb Raider projects. The one that's not getting
so this
canceled,
is the live action Fleabag one.
This
that's
is
getting
the
canceled.
live action Fleabag Tomb Raider. If that is getting cast, first I hear of it. If that is true, fantastic. They dodged a bullet.
I've heard about it too.
What have you learned about it?
I just heard that there's some rumors going.
He said it's a rumor. I don't know if you can join us real quick if you want to, Yellow Flash. I know you're probably busy with the kiddo, but yeah, if you want to come in and tell us what's up, I'll send you the link.
Just rumors in the Hollywood ether here in town. That's what I've heard.
Such rumors, they seldom come out of nowhere. So yeah, let's hope that
maybe Hollywood's healing.
Exploded, because there is no reason on God green's earth why you would want Fleabag to helm a Lara Croft series,
especially after the way that Indiana Jones tanked.
The only person you want that even less to handle a Lara Croft series than Fleabag is Tasha Huo, who is handling it for Netflix, and that thing is definitely coming out. Unfortunately, luckily it's just animated, so it's easier to ignore, which is good because that's going to be a disaster.
And if I'm not mistaken, Homegirl's been paid, so
Oh, of course, she'll be fine. She's aristocracy to begin with, so it's not like she's missing money or anything.
Yeah. I think the tide has to turn. That tide has to turn on these things. Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd be very, very cool with another Tomb Raider reboot, but let's do something that aims to look at the Angelina Jolie movies and then do them better, or go back to the original games, and none of this wokey crap that we've been suffering the last few years here in the latest adaptation, to say nothing of the lesbian one where she's apologizing for her privilege.
Honestly, then the other side of this is this goes for all these characters. Like, I get it, they're trying to uggify them all, but I don't understand the reasoning behind it, because other than maybe there's ugly women making them, and Fleabag is a great example of that, I suppose. Which, I mean, she cleans up okay, but I wouldn't say she's an ugly woman, but she's not exactly your traditional Hollywood beauty, let's say. But on that note, like, don't you want to make these characters look sexy, because then women want to dress up for them as on Halloween and at cosplays and all that kind of shit? Lara Croft used to be a very popular character to dress up as. Why? Because she was sexy. And women like to do that. There's a reason why sexy Halloween costumes exist. I've never been so conflicted when I see some chick dressed as sexy Freddy Krueger. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. As far as the other part, if they canceled it, good. Maybe Hollywood's healing.
Yeah. Let us.
Master Clockwork sends in 5 and says, "I've said this since the day Disney bought Star Wars. They need to make movies that are far removed from the Skywalker saga as possible." Now it's easy to say that with hindsight, and you may have been saying that then, Master Clockwork, but at that point the Skywalker legacy hadn't been destroyed. There was potential there. There was still, a foundation to build upon. It wasn't until The Last Jedi when that foundation was completely destroyed, basically. Because there's still even stuff to build upon after The Force Awakens, despite, what some people may think. It's still there. Like, you could still craft stories off of that first film that would be, I think, satisfying. And I think the proof is in the pudding, at least, when the leak of the Duel of the Fates script got out. And a lot of people agreed that, yeah, even though I didn't like The Last Jedi, that script has a resolution that it would at least maybe go, well, at least the third film wasn't all that bad. You know what I mean? Like,
or you can simply go back in time to like the Republic era, and there's so much you can do. You just have to do it the right way. And
but under normal circumstances, I agree with this. Yeah.
Which third movie wasn't bad?
Oh, this leaked version of Duel of the Fates, which would have been the Trevorrow version of the third film. As I said, it wasn't perfect or wasn't great, but at least it would have resolved everything in a way that I think a lot of fans would have been happy with. Especially under the understanding that they would have flip-flopped Leia for Luke anyway. So, yeah.
So, just on the Star Wars tip really quick, I've just finished reading Darth Plagueis, which I think is about what, like at this point, over 10 years old. And one of the complaints that the Acolyte, the goofballs are getting out there is like, oh, we'll never get to see who this mysterious character was, Plagueis. And it's like, yeah, thank God, because you were gonna F that up too. A lot of the elements in that novel, they stole for the Acolyte. So I'm just like, if you guys want to read anything like that in that era, just go read that book. It's an incredible book.
Yeah, that's true. Joe's Atmosphere sends in a book 99 and says Acolyte peaked with the trailer. Hail all. Yeah. I guess you could look at it that way. It was just ill-conceived from the start.
I was gonna say too, but with Headland, she's I believe she's doing an either a Broadway or off-Broadway play that she wrote. So that's,
I wouldn't be surprised. That's a rebound.
Actually, I take that back. Go ahead.
It's not a good rebound. That's all.
No, I was just gonna say that's not a good rebound.
Not a good rebound.
But I take it back about it being a bad idea, because normally doing anything that far removed from the Skywalker saga, I would actually agree with that last super chat. Like, yeah, that's the point you do this now. And that's with most of these franchises. Just get away from other things, especially in Star Trek, Alien, Star Wars. There's no excuse. You can go to so many different places in the universe and not have it be set in that same time period, or have to throw a bunch of characters at us just because, oh, Darth Vader, oh, C-3PO, that kind of crap. There's other places we can go. There's other things we can see and do. That I agree with. And that's maybe why Skeleton Crew, of all things, I know some people have been actually kind of going, you know what, that doesn't look so bad. Kind of feels a little Star Warsy or whatever. And I've even seen some people say, like, that feels like something that Steven Spielberg would make in the Star Wars universe. Right? So maybe that might be something that just kind of makes us go, okay, whatever. As long as it doesn't tie into a bunch of other shit that the Star Wars, is usually bogged down upon. Or bogged down in, I should say, sorry.
But yeah, to back that up, that source of mine, my buddy, he's like, Skeleton Crew's really good. I'm like, okay, man. I like Jude Law. Will I see it? I don't know, man. I still got a really bad taste in my mouth. I left. I've been clean and sober from Disney television, Disney Star Wars now for 3 months. I want to keep it going one day at a time.
Yeah.
I have like one issue with Skeleton Crew, just looking at the trailer. So just judging from the trailer, I think probably that's going to be a very good series. But it looks to me that this is the kind of series that when you already have a working brand, this is something that parents can use to pass on to their kids, because it seems very goony, it seems very child and family friendly, that this is the exact kind of thing that you see with your kids to pass Star Wars on to another generation. I'm all for Star Wars releasing that kind of stuff, but before they can do that, they have to win back the parents that are going to show this stuff to their kids in the first place. and they haven't done that. I think they need to have something
I
else
agree.
come up before this series. This is my issue with it, that I don't know that there are enough parents that are going to see it, because you have to win back the parents and the adults first before you can win over the kids. So that's my
that makes
one
sense.
reservation with that.
Then we got a $2 Rumble rant from Kelechi, sorry. I've never seen a company embroiled in so many lawsuits. It's practically weekly by this point. Do you think those Disney lawyers enjoy it or hate their job? I mean, they're getting paid regardless, right? Yeah, look, let me tell you, Kelechi, I imagine getting a job as a lawyer at a company like Disney is gravy. Because as you just pointed out, you're constantly working. Now, a lot of these things we talk about all the time because we shine a spotlight on it, but companies like Amazon, Walmart, big companies like that get sued on the daily all the time. We just don't hear about it.
And also keep in mind, these are lawyers. If they didn't work on lawsuits for Disney, they would work on lawsuits for someone else.
Amazon, Walmart, whoever. Exactly.
They chose it. Disney is a far cooler and far better client than most others. They love this, because the alternative would be doing the exact same thing with a smaller and less prestigious client. The lawyers love this.
Well, and that's just it. That's you basically reach the top of the mountain. Your client isn't Joe Blow nobody and some doctor in Arkansas or whatever. No, your job is basically about as high as you can get, aside from maybe working in government when it comes to being a lawyer. You probably get paid better too, because you're working for one of the biggest companies in the world. And like I said, on the daily, you're dealing with stuff most likely.
You don't even have to win.
Exactly. Well, not only that, like look at the case with they dropped the arbitration thing. Let's bring that up real quick with the wrongful death suit that we'd been discussing on and off for the last week or so, that we brought up with the whole Disney Plus thing, right? They dropped that part of it. Well, guess what? It doesn't matter, because they know they can sit there and drag this out in court for years.
Oh, they
can bleed this guy dry. Exactly. That's what their tactics are. That's what they live for. I wish we had Andrew here to back us up on this, because I bet you he would be like, oh yeah. He's like, are you kidding me? Like, that's just money in their pockets, man. They charge by the hour, remember?
Exactly. So no. The lawyers, they love this. Love it.
I would think if anyone doesn't love it, it's like the PR marketing for Disney's and
that's where the nightmares are at right now,
right? Because they're earning their money on a different level, not something they're
putting out fires. Exactly.
Not something that exactly, man. But
another thing, those people in marketing and PR management who are supposed to be putting out the disasters are going to be like, we got another disaster. Why didn't you prevent this? You're fired. Those people's jobs are on the line.
Why didn't you get ahead of this?
Yeah, exactly.
I was dealing with the last disaster.
I'm sure that those people, they have a very short tenure. They're probably there on average for 3 months before they're fired for incompetence.
If they're not fired, they probably quit over stress.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, those people, they can get equally well-paying people that offers far less stress.
Well,
I'm sure you could. What? No, I was saying, go ahead, Paul. You probably know more people who in the industry who've done this job before. So I was going to say, go ahead.
No, brother. I was just saying was that you think about that moron that typed up and released that damning press release on coming from Disney letterhead about Carano years ago. Where's that fool? Are they still working in the business? Are they still working for Disney? Wouldn't that be something, man? Because I guarantee you, man, they.
If they are, they probably won't be in about 9 months from now, Paul.
Exactly. Yeah.
Kind of like those guys in the O'Keefe videos, right? The day after those videos dropped, what happened?
Yeah.
The one guy was let go, and so. But
day after, then the month after, or next.
Honestly, Kalecki, it's funny you asked about the lawyers, because those are one of the few people who are probably actually having a good time through this whole thing. It doesn't matter unless the company is burning down. Even then, they're like, God, this sucks for you guys. Good thing I got a resume in over at Amazon.
Good thing I'm just a hired gun working for
Exactly.
another company.
Yeah.
So yeah, they don't even mind.
Yeah,
if the
not only that,
company's
you're right.
burning
Exactly.
down.
They work for a firm on top of it all, Andre. So they're not even directly working for Disney. They're working for a firm that's hired by Disney.
And
Exactly.
if the company is
Yeah.
burning down, then so much the better. It's very expensive closing down a company like Disney. That's a lot of legal red
A
tape
lot of
right
legal
there.
papers. Yeah.
It's a lot of money,
if
man.
you're a lawyer working for Disney, I mean, you're sorted. Simple as that. No matter what happens.
Mercenary
Yeah.
lawyers. I like that. Mercenary lawyers.
As the Eagles song says, the more I think about it, old Billy was right. Let all the lawyers and let's do it tonight. They're the only ones benefiting from any of this. I'm kidding, of course. But yeah. No, actually, I like a few lawyers, so I almost became a lawyer.
Yeah, no, we have some good ones.
Tommy the lawyer.
Yeah, we're big fans.
Well, I'm
of
good at
Andrew
arguing,
and a few
so.
others. So yeah.
Pack and Proton sends in $5. Says Paulie only race swap I can think of that worked is Baxter Stockman in the 80s series when they switch him to his proper black in 03. It was better. Well, and there was precedent for that. And I missed the question. That's why I completely answered.
Oh,
wrong.
I had asked the panel. I asked you guys, which, in your opinion, what examples of race swapping, for lack of better words, worked for you?
Well, and I figured that out once Andre made his answer, but there's probably a few more I could think of. One that actually stands out to me in an interesting way, though, was, and I don't mean to be negative about it, but when they had what's his face play Gordon in the more recent The Batman. I didn't think that was bad casting until I saw the film, and then it made me go, well, is that the only reason you cast him is because he's black? Because if you notice, everybody in that movie is a piece of shit except for the black people. And the one Hispanic guy in the gang, right? Like it stands out like a sore thumb.
What's her name? Catgirls.
Yeah, and she even tells him to do, not her, but the other chick even tells Bruce to do better. Then you find out
you're right.
Vicariously, Bruce is a piece of shit, and then Alfred's a piece of shit.
And his parents were the greatest piece of shits of all because they're
And crazy
white people, yeah.
My answer is twofold, right? One, I think this modern era, like let's say last 30 years, would be
Kingpin's a good one.
The reboot. That's right around the same time as Battlestar Galactica with Eddie Olmos and
yeah.
So, but my long-term meta answer is Hollywood's always been race swapping, guys. That's the irony of it, you know.
Well, for years, if you were Italian or Hispanic, you were probably playing Indians and shit and Westerns and crap, or Jewish even, you know, like.
Well, even the first Zorro was Douglas Fairbanks.
There you go. See,
you know, I mean, which is great. And like you had said, Tom, you don't really care as long as the shit's good.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, and I mean, oh god, I just forgot his name, but we've had him on here before. Great actor, cool guy.
Lillard.
No. He posted. He's a black guy, obviously. He posted that like 15 years ago, Morgan Freeman was cast as God and nobody said shit. And somebody in the chat will know who I'm talking about.
Clifton, that guy Clifton?
Yeah, Clifton.
Yeah.
Thank you. I couldn't think of his name all of a sudden. I just had a total brain fart. Yeah, Clifton Duncan said that. And I'm like, yes, exactly. You don't want to know why? Because back then we didn't give a shit. It was just Morgan Freeman. Well, of course he would be God. Like, what's wrong with that? Like, it just, we didn't care.
And going back to that handbook of how to do it and not to do it is, I think a lot of people would just be more tolerant of like new changes or whatever you want to call it, if the talent wasn't so insufferable and if the storylines weren't so full of agenda.
Yeah, and here's a great example too, because I never questioned this kind of shit. Why we had a black cat girl or Catwoman and a white Catwoman. It never dawned on me I gave a shit. Right? I mean, my second favorite Catwoman is Eartha Kitt. And she actually added more things to that character that we think of today in the character than anybody else. She was the one who added a lot of the perfect stuff and all that kind of crap to her character. So, yeah, anyway, we need to move on here. Let's get moving. We got, I think, one. Did we get this one yet? Yeah, we did. We did get the super chat. Double check and Rumble. We're good there. So, yeah, Paul, you got a show starting here in a little bit. Is that the understanding? He just took off when I was going to let him plug his show.
Yeah, Paulie is. I'll do it for him.
Yeah.
Paulie, of course, is going to be on Midnight's Edge Espanol that this stream redirects to. So everyone, be sure to be there for that. Paulie will be right back. We are working on another video that will be coming before long. Here, I just have to finish recording it so Tom can get into editing it, because now we have people who are so upset that the Acolyte has been cancelled. So of course we're going to talk a little bit about that. We have more videos coming as well. So just
today's going to be a long day.
Yeah. Tom, anything else that people need to be aware of?
Well, I was hoping to see the inside of my eyelids for a little bit here, but it doesn't sound like that's the case. So I guess later on you can find me on, sometimes I jump into Valiant's show it, and otherwise you'll see me on Physical Media Show with Banzine later on tonight.
Yeah. And with that, I do believe we are fully caught up on everything. So do head on over to Midnight's Edge Espanol, or just stay exactly where you are, because this stream is going to redirect to there, and the guys there will chat with you further. So with that, I do believe it is time for some koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given.